All right, hello everyone. Jenny and Nancy are back. We're continuing the wellness series. Today's topic is going to be financial wellness. Oh, that can be stressful, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, there are tips, ideas that we're going to share because just like our careers, we're all at different places with our finances, and a lot of people don't like to talk about finances, and it's a very personal thing. You know, we don't ask each other, well, how much money did you make this year, you know? But again, depending on what stage you are in your life, it's really just about taking an inventory on your current financial situation. And people will set long-term goals, short-term goals, that will allow them to reach their personal goals. And when we're talking about financial wellness, it's not about acquiring stuff. It's not about, I want enough money so I can buy this. It's everybody's got a certain quality of life that they are happy and content with, if that makes sense. So, like physical wellness, we constantly need to monitor and ensure that we're taking the necessary steps to ensure our financial future. Some people are savers, some people are investors, and some people are living paycheck to paycheck. So it's just a good idea to reassess your financial wellness. The COVID pandemic has affected a lot of people in different ways. Some people have been helped by it. Some people have really struggled and just really struggled. So what does it mean to take a financial inventory? How much money are you bringing in each month? Where is that money coming from? Does your income exceed your spending, or is it the reverse? Does your spending exceed your income? And that's when we get into trouble. Is your income consistent month to month? I mean, waitresses and waiters, they depend a lot on tips, and those change. That's not a consistent form of income. How often do you get paid, and how much are you allocating towards your bills? What are your monthly bills? Is it mortgage? Is it rent? Utilities? Food? Health care? Child care? And is there an area, when you look at your financial picture, is there an area that you're overspending in? You know, is there more money going into one area? And again, that's going back to balance. Is there an area where we need a little more financial balance? And are you able to save? You know, I worked a long time before I could get money into a savings account, but it made a big difference once I did. So when I needed new tires for my car, or I had a car that broke down, I wasn't putting it on my credit card. So you know, there are things that can work for everybody. So Jen, let's get back on budget.
All right, so just figuring out like what you do and don't use, like streaming accounts. I think I went through my budget a couple months ago and was like, what is this app? I don't even use this. Why am I paying for that? And it's because I had forgotten to cancel my 1 week free trial. So it's not just, like Nancy was saying, it's not just about how much money you have in your savings account and how many luxury items you can buy. It's about being aware of what you've got going on. So, and a good way to do that is to go through your financial inventory and then figure out, okay, what can I change? What do I want to keep the same? What do I want to, have some wiggle room in? And that also includes the, she mentioned balance. That also includes having money to do like fun things.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a big expensive fun thing. Maybe it's just, you buy a nice dinner for you and your family, or a nice lunch, or, you go out to eat once a month, or once every 3 months, whatever you can afford. Things like that. So budgeting in for fun time is important if you're able to do that. And if you're not able to do that right now, one of these days you'll get there. Keep going. We're not trying to exclude anybody. We're just trying to touch on principles that can be applied to anyone in any situation. So getting back on track with getting back on budget. Recurring memberships that you don't actually need. So like the gym. Are you going to the gym? Are you using the gym? That's something that you need to think about. Okay, I'm paying for this. Should I start using it? Or, okay, I'm paying for this, but I prefer to go. I live in a really warm climate, and I like to go on runs instead, or I like to do push-ups
Sure.
in my backyard. So it's those reoccurring memberships and monthly subscriptions and things like that. Those are things that we need to go through pretty regularly and figure out.
Right.
Am I using this or am I not? And
Well,
if I'm not,
cable.
should I? Yes.
Cable's a big one. I know a
That
lot
is a
of
big
people
one.
are cutting the cable, and they're
Right.
going with Hulu or Netflix, or they're finding alternative ways because the cable bills keep going up.
They do. And
Cell phones too.
oh
That's-
my gosh, paying your cell phone bill, that's that's a job on its own.
Sure is.
But so like we were saying, that balance with entertainment and recreation, and also responsibilities, because as much as we wish we didn't have them, we all do. Anything that's not like a need. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, like a lot of us are, if you don't need it, take a step back and evaluate: is this important enough for me to spend money on right now, or am I just like
Right.
searching for something? Am I being frivolous? There are all kinds of questions you can ask yourself about whether it's necessary or not. Quick tip about some of the streaming services: if you're a student and you have an Amazon Prime account, use your student email and sign up for the Prime option, because it's cheaper, and we all know students need to save as much money as we can. And then there are a lot of
I miss
services.
those days.
There are a lot of services. It's great sometimes, but sometimes it's like, oh man, I want to pay for Amazon Prime and I can't.
That's true.
But they do have a student option, and then a lot of streaming services have like a bundle. I think it's Spotify, Hulu, and maybe Stars, I think, that have or Showtime, I forget which one, but they have a bundle, so you get all three for a little bit cheaper. So when you're going through that financial inventory and getting back on budget, see if there's a way to make what your preferences are work within your budget, because sometimes there are options.
Make that phone call.
Yes.
Call the cable company that you're using. Call the phone company that you're using. And see if there's any type of an incentive. Sometimes they run specials where you can get this for less money than what you're currently paying.
Yeah.
And it really does come down to need versus want. What are our needs?
Mm-hmm.
All right, shelter, food, healthcare, versus what we want. And the wants usually come as they're very extraneous. It takes a lot of discipline to, again, be on a budget. But when you start seeing your debt go down and your savings go up, it does release a lot of stress, And like Jenny said, and I think this is a big one, we have to allocate time and resources for play.
We do. That's important
You
too.
gotta play. You gotta have some social outlets, whatever play looks like to you.
And there are a lot of free options for that too. I mentioned, saving money for it. But if you get creative, you can also find free options for, fun and entertaining. A lot of times communities will offer free stuff
They
for
do.
people to do. So, think outside the box a little bit. Nancy mentioned savings, your savings going up and your debt going down. Sometimes it's not necessarily just your savings going up. Sometimes it's just your bank account going up. So
True.
wherever you're at in your journey, the principle still applies. You see the things that you want, like
Right.
your income of some sort, wherever that ends up being allocated to, going up, and that debt going down. It's a good feeling, and that plays into emotional health and physical health because of
Does.
stress.
Yeah, which is a common denominator. Well, so paying down debt. If you have, a lot of banks have free financial advice.
Mm-hmm.
Paying down the credit card with the highest interest rate first, that still seems to be the going thing. But I'm not a financial planner. But I think it's great to ask questions, at your financial institution if you have one, or if you know people who are doing some good things with their finances. It's okay to ask questions like, what should I do? But again, it's paying down that high credit card interest rate. Some people will consolidate. I know right now student loans are huge for some people. Is it better to consolidate that student loan, or is it better to, I don't know. Again, ask the questions, find some people in the know. You can find a lot of information online as well.
Yeah, and being successful financially doesn't necessarily mean having lots and lots of money. It means that you are you found that balance within
Right.
your finances. That's really what this comes down to. I thought of another savings thing real quick, is that there are a lot of opportunities for, like in New York State, I think I mentioned this in our environmental wellness video. A lot of times eco-friendly movements will actually offer you savings, because if you're using, let's just say, solar power. I did it because I like the environment, but I also did it because it was going to save me money monthly on my utility bills. So a lot of times those eco-friendly options will have some sort of savings program that's an option too. So that call that Nancy was talking about, make it. See how you can benefit from any options that are out there, and maybe in turn it'll help somebody else and the environment too.
If it's possible, another thought is build an emergency fund. Unplanned things come up. If you can build that emergency fund to help you out when something unexpected happens. You can't work, you get laid off, for whatever reason. It's car repairs. That was always the one that got me in trouble.
Yep.
But
It's always the
anyways,
car.
and saving for retirement. Like Jenny said earlier, we're all at different places in our growth. And some people don't see themselves retiring. They love what they do. They don't see it ending. I know people in their 80s who still work. They volunteer. They give back to their communities. So work, when I say work, it's like, well, maybe your work is volunteering at this point in your life. Or maybe it's work where you're getting financially compensated. Some places of employment offer a 401k or a 403b, which is a type of investment. Again, when you're interviewing for a job, maybe that's a good question to ask. Do you match my contributions? And again, I'm not a financial planner. I ask questions. I've never really been afraid to ask questions.
It's a good thing
If
to
I
do.
don't know, I ask.
It's the only way to find out.
So Jenny, tell us about short and long-term financial goals.
All right. So, a spa day. It's a great way to unwind, right? It's practicing self-care, and it's a way to like relieve some of that stress that we've been going through. But if you are spending all of your money on spa days and not paying your bills, and then you get stressed out about your bills, you haven't found that balance yet. So finding that balance between self-care and responsibility is going to be both short and long term. So in order to achieve financial wellness long term, you have to check in on your finances
Yes.
pretty regularly, so you can figure out what routine works for you, what savings, what spending, what fun time, what responsibilities, where those things need to be balanced out. And it'll probably take several trial and error sessions, maybe a couple months
Absolutely.
where like, oh, I did not do good, or a couple months that I was like, yes, this is great. You look at those months where you're like, okay, I did a really good job. What were my patterns? What did I do that was successful? And once you take some of that time and those checks and balances of how you're doing. Once you get to that final resting point where you're like, all right, I've done really well for 6 months. Let's see how I can keep improving and keep moving forward. What am I doing right? What do I need to keep doing? And once you find that balance and that sweet spot,
Yes.
you will be ready to just keep going forward with whatever financial goals and success, however you measure that for yourself.
So right now we're recording this. It's June. One thing about spending that several people in my world have mentioned, they're still paying off their bills from Christmas. And I know we're a very generous culture, but if the spending at the holidays and the birthdays and everything is putting you behind, like short and long-term goals, they have holiday clubs you can join, so you have money in the fall to put towards Christmas and holidays and Hanukkah and everything. But I really do think, for myself personally, a homemade gift,
Absolutely.
or spending time with somebody,
Yes.
having an adventure, going on a hike or a bike ride. Gifts come in different forms. It doesn't have to be something bought in a store. So, you know, when you're thinking about that, if that's an area where it's like, wow, I really overspent, it takes me 6 months to pay off that credit card bill, and it causes you stress, which affects your health, affects your well-being. Got a hitchhiker?
You did.
That's where we're coming from. We don't want finances to cause you stress, which can harm your health and well-being. So, you know, and again, like Jenny will say, if you have suggestions and stuff,
Absolutely.
drop them down.
Let us know. We're here to help. And we want you to help each other too.
All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the day.